Old style walk and talk video. Yeah, this ice is pretty interesting how high up on the bank. Ooh, it all got washed. Really quite heavy. Spooky. So anyway, yeah, walk and talk video maybe. See how it goes. It's kind of pretty though. Yeah. It's like diamonds and such. Temporary diamonds. I couldn't get across there. I gotta take my boots off, too cold. Screw that. Yeah, it's quite wintry up there still. It must be north of here. It does work out that way. So, subjects. I guess maybe I'll do some of this futuristic crap. This was Anticontraband is in Hong Kong. Something like that. And lamenting a little bit. Oh gee, it does look a little cluttery here, a little busy. Maybe this isn't utopia. But this wasn't utopia either. So I guess that's my reaction. Is that the Gavolt guy or whatever left some comment saying some kind of crap. But like somehow life has more meaning or something if you're in some other kind of rat race. That little racy rat race is no good. You want to do the fat and slow rat race out here in the shit. And it's all shit. It's all just a head game anyway. I keep saying that, but no one seems to really understand what that means. But it just means it's your perception is mutable to your programming. So your programs can foster different reactions depending on what program you're running. I mean, it's just kind of that simple. Checking the footprints here, they look like baby bears. Really, I'm bearophobic now. One of the liabilities. I bet there's no bears walking the streets of Hong Kong. You don't have to do this shit, whatever this is. Anyway, yeah, it really should be better than this. I thought conditions would be more mutable. But it's just a head game, right? Oh, right, this part isn't a head game. This is actual reality. But anyway, I suppose the head game part would be you can just imagine yourself as a cross-country Arctic ice stepper. You're going for the ice stepping gold medal next year. They're training and such. And then it's all okay. Everything's fine. Everything's just the way it should be. So anyway. So yeah, I mean, people lament, a future of virtual reality or immersion into whatever that race is, the other rat race, as if it makes a difference. And I'm afraid the differences are all superficial and cosmetic, subjective. I'm trying to think of a better word for it. A matter of taste. Yeah. And there's not much substance to it. I mean, it's just, it's kind of just like the racial thing or some other kind. It's like, yeah, you have an affinity. You can have an affinity. Some people obviously don't. They have like the opposite affinity. But for the things the stuff that makes sense to you. But it's not like it's 2 plus 2. It's really not a precise mathematical thing. This intuition and personal comfort thing is not it's not doing anything seriously scientific. It's doing something very personal and subjective, and so it really doesn't, in my opinion, what kind of cage consciousness is in, you know, it doesn't really matter. But I do feel it, in a sense that you do feel the idea that your kind is on the extermination list. That the billions hordes aren't going to look like you, talk like you. They're just not going to have your little charms. They're going to have their charms, bigger, small, fat, whatever, and that's going to be the charm. And it does seem less meaningful somehow. It's like, I've used the analogy of the rocket ship going out into the galaxy, and if they had 7 seats or whatever, you drew straws to see who went, and Whitey didn't get on the ship. I wonder if Whitey would finance it if Whitey didn't get to go. It's just it's just subjective rubbish. But you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it to an extent. These preferences are kind of wired deep into subjective conditioning, like foods and different things. It's pretty hard to rewire some of that stuff. Some of the louder voices of personal preference or personal conditioning, kind of hard to undo that, like your sexual preference or something. You could, in theory, know, it'd be so much easier if, trees did it for me. Yeah, so much easier. Ooh, you're lovely. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Maybe. But yeah, it's pretty hard to imagine that, okay, yeah, I could do that seriously. Wink, wink. Become a treophile. It's just a remaking of too much of the programs. And like I said, there's some programs that are just harder wired than others. Some are, deep memory shit, and some are just hard drive shit, and some are SD card shit. And some of it you can't avoid. But acknowledging its existence, in a sense, gives you the power to do something constructive with your bigotry, with your innate prejudice, with your stupidity. It's not even it's the stupidity, but just that sense of something being wrong, and your intelligence can tell you, hey, hold on, it's probably not all that wrong. Those rats probably know what they're doing too. They probably think they're really cool. They probably have, the same aggrandized and excessive perception of their own worth and value that you have. They're just as full of shit as you are. So it's not a lesser game, because your piece isn't on the board. It's like a Monopoly piece, right? You can't play Monopoly if the little dog isn't playing. Yeah, you can. So that's sort of a tangent subject, but it does sort of go there a little bit, because we do feel alienated by our own time, our own references, and we get gapped and long for the good old days, the smell of manure on the path and such. or some kind of nostalgic bullshit that usually doesn't mean anything. It's just nostalgic bullshit. But there are things you could calculate in terms of the, some elements of the conversation that you can pull out and say these have some sort of real meaning. Like the whole idea of the value of a life, the lack of networking and community, and that does diminish all of us. We're not part of anything. We're just a mouth to feed and an anus to wipe. And there's certainly an element of that in this futurism, that we're all being marginalized by the mechanisms, the commercialism, the industry, the money. And that's the thing that's making policy, in a sense. What's in the interest of the animals, us, including us, let's say, isn't part of the equation. It's just about keeping the machine running, on this servitude to avarice and desire, and finance through the acquisition of burden and debt. Just really insidiously invidious, or invidiously sidious, one of those two. So is there anything else to say about that whole idea of just a kind of gapping? Life just gaps you. I think every human being that lives, more than 40 or 50 years is going to sense it or feel it, or, the changes aren't going to look like, life is good. That they're going to look like life is really stupid. And some of that's going to be fact, and some of that's going to be the fragility of personal perspective, limited personal experience. I haven't fully lived as a Chinese person. I haven't fully lived as a proud African or something. So I lack capacity to see the deep meaning, in that kind of existence, because all I see is the holy shit, these people look like rats trapped in fucking mazes. This doesn't look like a human life. This looks like a machine part, a cog, in some evil chugging machine of smoke and soot. But that's where it blends into reality, in the sense that's probably correct. It has gotten coggy, and sooty, and marginal in terms of any obvious profoundness and such. So now I believe that's probably enough. I wanted to get to the road crossing. Yeah. Well, I almost slipped on a piece of ice, fell backwards, got run over by that car. Just missed. So damn close. Whoa, almost died there too. It really is dicey here. So this all happened in 2 days. We had these horrendous cold, below zeros and such. And, everything just froze. And look at that. So, the water flooded over the ice from so you don't step there. But, look at all the ice was covering the ice was covering the ice. The water was awash with ice on top of the ice. Yeah. Okay, see, look, see, I'm not lying. But you know, this hard ice is from the previous. I guess it'll take a while to melt. But yeah. So, but I mean, you know, this really has been a, you know, except for that 2 feet of snow and this freezing spell, the rest of the winter was nothing. I mean, it's been really quite pleasant as winters go. So I can't complain about that. We've had some. It's been rough, you know, here the last few years. The winters have been nasty. So it's kind of nice to have be cut a break. Global warming decided to visit for a while. So anyway, it's nice that this is mushed up. This was terrible the other day. It's just you know, all the water from this development washes down on this path. Bad. Anyway, so that's it. Yeah, this part's not too good. I have to watch what I'm doing now. Alright, so that's enough. It's time to watch what I'm doing now. Alright, so that's enough of a video. And until next time and such.